We are a property management software that's centered around the lease. So everything we do is driven by the lease because we consider that the most important document. That's the only vehicle for revenue that you have with a commercial property.
This episode brought to you by Suites at Madison. Meeting and conference rooms for rent by the hour, week, month, or year. Suites at Madison, where business gets done. Check them out at www.downtowntampaoffice.com. Now, on to the show.
You are listening to the Invest Florida Real Estate Show, covering topics in lending, buy and sell strategies, property management, hot markets, and tips and tools to guide you along the way on your path to real estate success. You want Florida investment real estate talk? You have come to the right place. And now, our hosts, Eric Odum and Steven Silverman.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Invest Florida Real Estate Show. This is your co-host, Eric Odum, along with Steven Silverman. Steven, I would say it's always a pleasure to be able to sit down.
It's always a pleasure, Eric. We'll stop right there.
It's always a pleasure. But we've got a great guest today. People ask us, we get emails occasionally from folks, and they'll ask, how are you guys conducting your business? What do you do? What are you using for your tools of the trade? And property management is one of those things that we didn't start our business in property management, Stephen, but we sort of fell into it, right?
Well, there was no choice. I mean, we're brokers, so we help people do a deal with brokerage, and then people look to us for property management. And from their side, they wanted continuity. From our side also, because once we did the deal, they would be over. We'd hand off to somebody else, and this way we keep them as clients, and it's better for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where some of our better clients, both on the development side and on the purchasing side, had complained about their relationships that they had with property managers and had been putting pressure on us to try to take on that responsibility. And when we saw some of the ways that properties were being handled on properties that we had sold to our clients, we felt bad about it, sort of felt obligated to get into the business. And at first it was a scenario where I wasn't sure how long we were going to do it. We basically got in to sort of straighten some messes out. And at least from my perspective, I know you have a different main client that you're working on, but we're going to straighten some messes out and then hopefully turn that business over. And I think we started to realize after a while that we're getting more folks that were asking for us to handle some of the property management. So we did. And, for us, it's, we might sell them an investment property, our clients, and then we're helping to manage it. And then it's for the client, it's a check in the mail. So at the end of the day, we're helping to find the deals for them, or we're helping to develop the property. And then we're managing those properties, and they're pretty much hands off. And so it's ended up to be a pretty good relationship building situation for us, Stephen, because not only are we buying the properties and seeking them and developing them, but we're also helping to make sure that they're realizing their financial goals, that whatever those financial goals might be.
Well, it also becomes a long-term thinking instead of just a short-term thinking, and there's a difference.
Sure.
And real estate is a longer-term play.
Well, and we've had a couple of different management software systems, and they just didn't really fit for us. And we, continued to sort of look, and we stumbled upon this particular provider of property management software. And since you guys asked, this is who we're talking to today. We're going to be talking about the product and why we chose it, and we'll be speaking directly with the president and the guy who's running the show over there. So looking forward to that. Before we get into our interview, Stephen, I just wanted to real quick shout out to one of our listeners. So Johnny366 went on to the Apple podcast and he left us a review. And it says, really enjoy the Invest Florida show. Learning a lot about the Florida market. Best regards from Switzerland. Great show, guys. Johnny366, we really appreciate you taking the time to leave us a review. 5-star that. Imagine that, Stephen. Yeah, that really helps us. It's tough for us to find guests that we feel are quality for you each and every episode. A lot of the guests that we solicit to come on the show, some of them are suggestions from you guys, and some of them we find out about them from other parties and we try to convince them to come on. But when they're doing research on us, they go to our website, they go to our LinkedIn page, and they try to learn a little bit about us to try to figure out whether it's going to be time well spent coming on the show. And those reviews really help us to grease the skid, so to speak, on allowing these guests to make decisions about coming onto the show.
Yeah, and they just feel more comfortable and feel they're not wasting their time. So places like Stitcher and other places for reviews are very helpful just to getting quality guests. So please do that, guys.
Yeah, no doubt. So if you have not had an opportunity to do that yet, whether it be on Stitcher or some of these review shows like Chartable, obviously the big 800-pound gorilla is Apple. Apple Podcasts have a very robust review system. So pick your poison, whichever you want to go to, and give us a review. We'll definitely read it and acknowledge your presence, and we appreciate when you do that. So, Steve, is there anything else before we roll into our guest today?
Let's roll into property management. Today we have with us Landrum Randolph. Landy has a diverse background, including leadership roles in the hospitality and manufacturing industries, complemented by education in graphic design. Landy began software development through fabrication machines, scripting with an emphasis on program automation and 3D surfacing. Landy's experience includes modern web development and complex data structures. In addition to being a founder and CEO, Landy was also the lead programmer who designed and implemented RAMP. Landy, welcome to the Invest Florida show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, Landy, really appreciate you investing some time with us today to talk about RAMP. Why don't you start with us at the beginning? Not the genesis of when you were born. I'm talking about how you got into this property management business.
Well, as you know, I was in manufacturing and I was programming fabrication machines. I started writing programs and really got into it. And the manufacturing company came into some hard times. And so I created an application for them that took a 10-hour operation and made it about 45 minutes. And so when the hard times hit, they cut my hours. And so from that, I started doing financial modeling and reports on the side. And that led to my partner, Kevin, coming to me one day as a client, asking me to gain insights into his leases. And so in Excel, I created an add-on into Excel that allowed him to abstract his leases and gain some insights. So after I released the software to him, about 2 weeks later, he comes to me with this mammoth Excel file. And I said, what all did you put in here? And in 2 weeks, he had abstracted his entire portfolio into RAMP and gave me back this Excel file. So we realized we were onto something. And so I told him we need to move to the cloud. And so that's when we started developing RAMP for the cloud. And then after using that, we moved on to the accounting software because we could not find something in the market that could fit our accounting needs.
Can I ask what kind of properties he had when you started?
Yeah, what did his portfolio look like?
Yeah, and how big was the portfolio?
Mixed-use properties, many times retail, and then offices on top, or maybe a few residential. It was really a mixed-use portfolio, and there was nothing on the market that could handle, at that time, before RAMP, could handle his particular style of portfolios.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because let's talk a little bit about the market. Yardi, Buildium, Appfolio, all these folks, Yardi's the 800-pound gorilla in the market.
Right.
But you have, Appfolio and Buildium that have really come on. MRI is another one that's out there. Appfolio and Buildium for us was far too residential based and really could not handle the leases. Yardi, on the other hand, is this behemoth, right? Like they're the 800-pound gorilla, but man, it's
expensive.
Not, yeah, it's not intuitive software. So did that come into play when you were designing RAMP? Like talk about how you looked at the competitors and how you decided the niche that you were going to try to fit into.
Okay, so Yardi is an accounting software that also does property management. We are a property management software that's centered around the lease. And so you do have the residential Buildium and Appfolios who've been retrofitted to do commercial. And then you have RAMP compared to MRI. We are centered around the lease. So everything we do is driven by the lease because we consider that the most important document. That's the only vehicle for revenue that you have with a commercial property. And so that drives our accounting system. That drives our file management, our CRM. Everything is centered around the lease.
And so is the software flexible that it can deal with different types of properties that some of the other competitors struggle with?
Absolutely. So one of the problems, especially with the residential softwares, is that you have one unit and you can have one tenant within that unit. Ours, you can have multiple tenants in a unit at the same time. So for like student housing, it's great. You can have multiple leases going on in the same unit. We also don't charge, like AppFolio does, by the unit. We charge by the lease. And so you can actually get accurate rent rolls because you don't have to worry about a vacant space. It's on your rent roll with that vacancy abstract.
And so you guys pretty much handle all asset classes then. You know, if somebody's coming to you, like for us, we couldn't use AppFolio. They just weren't suited for us because they're not focused on doing commercial work. And that was one of the reasons we didn't use AppFolio. But would you say that you could handle the like retail, office, industrial, multifamily? Are there any sort of soft spots in the asset class arena that you say, well, that's probably not a great fit for us?
No, we tend to focus on the retail because we have a lot of features around the retail that they use, and then that leads us into the mixed use. But we go everything from multifamily all the way to farms where people are wanting to lease out farmland.
And what about things like self-storage and that? Can your software handle that too?
It can handle self-storage. We don't have a large group of individuals using our software for self-storage. It's very robust, and we're not competing in that market.
So who is it best used for? Is it best used for property managers with diverse kinds of properties, or is it too big for an individual property owner with just a property or two? I mean, how does it scale? At what point does it start making sense?
We usually target companies that have about 5 or 10 properties. It is very affordable for property managers and owners with that size of portfolio. And then what we also offer is the lease abstraction module is separate. So you can have tenant users on there. So you can have chain stores. We had a Bojangles franchise on there, and they put all their leases in from the tenant side. And then when you couple that with the property management, that's when property managers can use it. But tenants need the same insights as the owners of the property.
Yeah, and I mean, y'all have, you talk about Yardi, and is it Yardi Matrix? I think it's Yardi Matrix is their online. Is that their online product?
I think it's Breeze, honestly.
Breeze. I'm sorry.
Yardi Breeze,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yardi Breeze. And I guess that's probably the closest product that Yardi has to you guys. But I can tell you that our listeners that we selected you guys to use because for us, we are able to conduct all of our business on side of your platform. And as you said, it's very lease centric, where Breeze at the time, we were one of the betas on Breeze, and it really didn't allow us to do the things that we needed to do. So that was a short-lived experiment.
Well, Yardi Breeze is, even when they present it to you, it's a wrapper around Yardi Voyager. The only reason they're offering you Yardi Breeze is to get you on Yardi Voyager. And they're still wrapping around the same technology they created in 1998.
Yeah, you're off of everything you've built on is in the cloud, so it's RAAMP.com, right?
Yes, RAAMP.com.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it was we had to have that remote capacity. We had to have the ability to be able to get all of our leases on, to be able to quickly pull down abstracts. And so these were things that were very important for us. Then, of course, you've got the price point where Yardi is a cafeteria plan, right? You come in and you take this product and this product and this product. By the time most users get done, you're looking at a $25,000 minimum that you're going to be paying for Yardi in a year. And for us, you're looking at it going, man, is this really what makes the most sense? It seems a little awkward to us, and also it has this pricing model that does it really make the most sense? And the usability, I think, also is another issue. But you guys built on the cloud. I mean, my gosh, it's kind of a mixture between online Quicken with Dropbox added, and then and a lease administration software included. So it really is very robust from a property management standpoint. Am I missing some of those items, Landy?
No, I think you've got it. I mean, we also have that CRM system built in for all of your contact information and the prospect mapping. But no, we have the full service file management with the accounting. And the most important thing is we developed it in one package. We didn't go out and buy other companies and try to scrape them together. We built everything around property managers and for property managers.
Well, let's talk to people who are thinking about property management. What do you think are the most useful reports that are generated by the system?
Oh, well, the Certificate of Insurance Compliance Report is a must-have. Lots of places offer that as a separate module, but it's part of our day-to-day operation, so that comes included.
That's a big issue, right? Because like tenants have to get that every year, and they just forget, and then you turn around and something happens and they're not insured.
And you have to explain that to the property owner, and there's not a good explanation except I messed up.
Yeah, and if you're owner of the property, gosh, it's a terrible thing to find out that the insurance company dropped the ball on notifying you, and if you don't have a method of keeping track of that stuff, and all of a sudden you find a tenant without insurance, and now they're coming after you. That's a pretty bitter pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what other reports then?
Well, the other one is it's not really a report. It's just how our system operates. We say our accounting system knows your lease. So it knows about your delinquency, it knows about holdover, it knows about your escalations, and it knows about your option periods. And so rather than just memorizing a transaction like other accounting softwares, ours actually knows your lease. So when you go to invoice your tenant, it's going to automatically calculate all that for you with a click of the button. You set it up, say I want this memorized, and it knows it. And so the rent roll automatically tells you can take your invoice, compare it to the rent roll. They're always going to be one and the same.
Yeah, those CAM management, that's another issue that when we looked at software packages, a lot of the packages focused at multifamily don't consider CAM because CAM's not common area maintenance, is not part of a residential lease in terms of a pass-through. In residential and some office, and certainly industrial as well, these items such as the landscaping, as insurance and property management fees and whatnot that get passed through the tenant, those tenants want those items broken out and charged separately for. And so, if you're for us, like dealing with a residential first property management system, it really didn't meet those needs for us. So to be able to break out and calculate those CAM charges, which happen on an annual basis, and to be able to present that in a logical format to the tenant was important for us. And that's one of the great things about your system too.
Yes, I completely agree. And it's a drag and drop interface for those charge pools. And when you want to separate it, you can actually separate it by property business type as well. So you say, hey, all my commercial leases, and then it will give you that percentage of those commercial leases.
So, Landy, let's talk a little bit about an issue that we run across, frankly, and that's document management. How to keep track of all these. Obviously, you've got the leases in there and you're generating off the leases, but there's a lot of other documents that are important and you need to be able to retrieve at a moment's notice.
Yes, and so what we've done to solve that, we had the same problem. We had SharePoint, and we ended up spending $26,000 on a server just so that we could share files with each other. And so what we did with RAMP's file management system is it's integrated throughout the whole site. So when you go into your tenant, there's a bound tenant folder there. You can customize some folders and put other documents in there, but it's always going to have that tenant folder. And the same with your deposits or your payables or your insurance. When you go into that folder for that insurance, you couldn't see the air quotes there, but they were air quotes when I said folder. And when you go into that folder, you're actually inside that record of that insurance. So as you navigate your folder structure, you're actually navigating your data.
Awesome. Talk to us about going forward in the future. What are some of the upgrades that you're looking at doing here in the next year or so, Landy?
Well, actually, your last question leads into that. We are doing a virtual drive. And so we're taking our tightly bound folder structure and we're creating an on-premise drive that you can actually collaborate and work out of. Just so we're going to be competing with companies like Dropbox or SharePoint, but you're going to have that same on-premise where you can just open up a file, edit it, and it automatically goes into RAMP. We're very excited about that, and that's coming by the end of the year.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool.
So, Landy, I have one question to ask you, which is another issue we ran across, like keeping tabs on a document where you've got multiple signatures to make sure that everyone has signed off on it.
Oh, the DocuSign model. Is that what you're talking about, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, something like that.
Yeah, the hello sign or DocuSign.
You've got 4 people that need to sign and one hasn't signed and someone doesn't see it.
That sounds like a next feature for you, Landy.
It does sound like a next feature for me. We've handled similar situations through our notebook, which we haven't touched on, but I know, Eric, your team uses the notebook section, and that's where you can put any task out there. You can say, okay, I got the parking lot repaved. This is when this happened. Or so-and-so needs their HVAC repaired. You can do that with documents as well. You can attach any documents to our notebook and say, okay, this is assigned to these 4 users, and then attach that to a task, and they can sign off on it.
Yeah, I mean, with lease management, one of the things that, as you said, your product starts with the lease and then works backwards into the other aspects of it. And man, that would be a terrific feature if you have the capacity eventually to be able to not only be notified, which is what your product does now, is you've got a lease that's expiring in 6 months, but be able to take the lease that is the template for that particular property. When you get the terms worked out on the new terms worked out, to be able just to enter it in and then have some sort of a DocuSign situation, or integrate it with API with DocuSign or HelloSign to be able to distribute that document and then also save it back into RAMP. That would be a really cool feature.
Thanks. Yeah, I will definitely add that. I like that idea.
And hence leads to the next point. This is probably the main reason, Stephen, besides the fact that he suited what we do. Landy, you're probably not going to be very happy about me saying this, but Landy is the owner and the developer, and he's available. So things that need to get done, we ask Landy to do it, and shockingly enough, he does it. And it's kind of one of those situations with these other guys. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll put you at the end of the list of 300 other items that we're trying to address." And Landy's been very responsive to us.
Well, the amazing thing about property management, you know, when you sit from outside and look at it, everything's simple and it looks cookie cutter. And as you get into it, there's always something more that you need or something additional. And it's a process.
Yeah, or to improve the process. Exactly correct. I mean, improve your process and systems, because there's so many balls in the air with property management. You're worried about, the repairs. You're worried about, your lease is expiring. You're worried about your insurance. You're worried about getting information back to whether it be the banks or to the insurance companies. And there's all these checklists of things that are constantly going on with all of your properties. And again, like you said, it seems simple from the outside, but it's not. The administration of those leases and those properties is extraordinarily complicated, and it requires a system that's capable of organizing that flow in a way that not just the property manager, but anybody can come after the property manager and look at it and go, okay, I see what's happening in an easy fashion. And that's what your property management system is supposed to be doing.
And Eric, you also brought up a very good point too. One of the things I hear a lot when I show people RAMP is, wow, you guys have thought of everything. And the truth of the matter is we haven't. Users like you who have requested things have thought of everything, and we're just accommodating them. And so the more users we get on there, the better our software is going to become. And we never want to lose sight of that.
Yeah, and that's really been a good relationship for us. Landy, it's been a great conversation. Is there anything that you would like to add before we let you go?
Just thank you for having me. I appreciate being on, and I'm looking forward to the future of RAMP and the future of commercial real estate.
So, Landy, how can people reach you if they want more information or want to discuss property management software?
They can reach me if you go to RAAMP.com, RAAMP.com. There's a contact form there, and they can just fill that out, and it will go directly to our support team, and somebody will contact them.
Yeah, and Landy, I'm going to ask you also if you wouldn't mind sending us over some dummy reports. Obviously, we can't share the reports that are live reports from our clients, but if you have some dummy reports that you can forward over to us, we'll put those in the notes on our website at theinvestfloridashow.com, and people get sort of an idea. Now, right now, your demonstrations are all in person. You don't have anything that people could just go to and look at a demonstration, do you? Or is it all in person?
It's all in person. And what I'll send you over, I'll send you a rent roll, because our rent rolls also include all the lease abstracts with dynamic links and everything else. So I'll send you some screenshots of those.
Perfect. Stephen, anything else before we let Landy go?
No, Landy, thank you very much. And we'll certainly be talking to you more about property management.
Okay. Thank you, guys. You have a great day.
And that was Landrum Randolph from RAAMP.com. And that's RAAMP.com. Stephen, what were your thoughts? Obviously, we use Landy. Some insight you might have gained from him today?
Well, leases are complex and property management gets complex because leases are always different. So what's interesting about this software is it's built around the lease. And from that, everything else is driven, the accounting, the financial reports and everything. But it just takes a good approach to helping with property management.
Yeah, and there are a lot of options out there for you guys looking to manage your own properties. We selected RAMP. There's a price point issue. It's considerably better price point than Yardi. We felt like it had some flexibility that would allow us to do the things that we needed to do. And it was not necessarily, when we looked at like comparing to Appfolio and Buildium, it wasn't as driven towards the residential user. It's great for residential, but those platforms that we just aforementioned, Appfolio and Buildium, were really built around the residential side of things and didn't offer some of the accommodations that we needed. I think it's worth a look. And I think you're going to find similar to Appfolio in terms of their price point. The point of entry is significantly less than trying to get into something like a Yardi, but it offers a lot of those same sort of mid-tier needs that we had on the commercial side, the robust side on the commercial side that we needed. It's been a good selection for us, Stephen. Landy's been great at being able to fill gaps in areas that we think that he needed to fill in terms of the service providing, and he's been very, very accommodative to us. So it's been good. It's been a good relationship for us. And we wanted to make sure that our listeners, we talk about these things every once in a while from a vendor standpoint, like what are you guys using and what are you doing? Well, this is what we're doing.
Well, we're happy to share our experiences, and we'll always like to hear from people what experiences they have in other aspects of real estate or property management.
Which leads us into
The place to go.
The place to go.
The place to go to see our archives and the hundreds of shows we've now done is go to www.investfloridashow.com. Also download the app so that you can listen while you're mobile or in the gym.
Guys, as always, we appreciate the time that you invest with us each and every episode. And until next time, hasta la vista.
You've just listened to the Invest Florida podcast with Eric Odum and Stephen Silverman. Join us every week for actionable real estate investment ideas, and of course, visit our website at www.investfloridashow.com for more shows and tips on how to earn a cash flow in the real estate market in Florida. While hosts and producers of the Invest Florida show have no reason to doubt the validity of comments of our guests, we do not warranty their accuracy. Please check with your legal, financial, and tax advisors before entering into any investment. Returns will vary from person to person and deal to deal based on unique circumstances. All information expressed in this show is for educational purposes only. Opinions of the guests are not necessarily shared by the hosts and producers of the Invest Florida show.